And we're pre-recorded. Now, normally I would start off the show by saying we're live, but this is a special week because it's my birthday week and I'm going to be traveling. But I didn't want you to miss the 81st week of Hex Therapy live. And so that's why I've pre-recorded this special episode. Now, it's going to be a good one today because I'm going to throw it back to an article that I wrote in 2020 about Hex that I think everybody will really appreciate looking back on. So without any further ado, let's get this episode started.
It's from ALLin of Hex Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
ALLin's got that covered. He does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff, like, as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.
Now, if you're here to learn about crypto and mental health and to celebrate Hex, Pulse Chain, and Pulse X, then go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button now. And if you're watching on the replay, leave a comment. I really appreciate it. Now, the article that I want to go over today it seems like it was published in The Startup, which is the most popular publication that is featured on the Medium website. So Medium is a blog that's popular among certain types of people, and The Startup is the hardest publication to get put into. I was actually featured in there for real, like it still shows up, over a year ago. This was in October of 2020, and it was an article I made about a really crazy thing I found on Twitter where an artificial intelligence was trolling a bunch of people. It's probably the best article I've ever written. Super interesting. And you could see here it says in The Startup, it's featured. And then also the article that we're going to go over today, which is called 3G Crypto Hex Fixes Mental Health, subtitle, Programmable Money Cures the Curse of Paper Money, was also featured in The Startup. I didn't Photoshop this, but it doesn't still show up that way. So maybe they added it and removed it or something. Either way, I love that I've been out there trying to get publicity for Hex since we were actually at, I think it was 0.2 of a penny. It was about a quarter of a penny at that time. So 0.0025 on November 12th. 2020. So, I mean, this article still rings true today, and I think it's really worth checking out here. That's why I'm going to go over it, because you'll see how well it's written. But it's this is the first piece of content I ever created in Hex, was this article before I became a YouTuber, shortly before, and yeah, so this is going to be a treat. It'll probably take about 10 or 15 minutes to read through, and we'll see if I get distracted and have side comments along the way. As you can see, the graphic, it's brilliant. It emphasizes that Bitcoin burns electricity, and the subtitle says Bitcoin is 1G crypto. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll read here, and if people want to check out the article, you can go to the link in the description below. Here it says, inventions can catch you by surprise. The wheel was first invented for pottery 300 years before its best use case, transportation. That's right. Imagine waiting 3 centuries for the invention of 2G wheels, the kind of wheels that don't just make bowls. Then suddenly, wheels are carrying humans to places they never thought possible. Inventions take time to fully emerge. At first, few knew the internet went beyond email, its first app. People thought email was the internet, just an electric letter-making process. Now, it's not obvious, especially back in 2020, how inferior centralized physical money is until you grasp the vastly superior invention of HEX, what I'm calling the third generation cryptocurrency, 3G crypto. Just like the wheel was mistaken for a bowl maker and the internet for an e-letter, first generation crypto, Bitcoin, is still mistaken as the best decentralized digital money. 3G crypto HEX goes beyond currency to offer a new function of money, paying yourself, which will lead to abundant mental health. Next section says 3G crypto enables paying yourself. 10 years ago, I smoked $2.7 billion worth of cigarettes per year, relative to the price of Bitcoin now being 1.5 million times higher. Now I don't smoke and appreciate the value of crypto. As a brainwave researcher, I helped pay smokers $1,000 to quit tobacco. It's always been curious to me that people can't pay themselves to quit. This exposes the missing function of paper money that crypto will solve. Paying yourself for quitting smoking or any other mentally healthy behavior change would be Bitcoin's killer app, except Bitcoin is only first generation crypto. Today, I am both a therapist and an advocate for the use of programmable money to improve mental health. Mental health has more to do with money than people realize. In fact, the strongest effect size in psychology is seen in contingency management, an intervention where people are paid to stop addictive behaviors. My discovery of using crypto to allow people to pay themselves for mental health represents a new way of thinking about human action. 3G crypto HEX is an audited smart contract cemented in 2019 on Ethereum, the second generation of crypto, acting as the computational security layer for HEX. HEX pays users interest based on the duration of their time lock and may have saved one man's life by influencing him to keep his suicide plan canceled and adopt a better recovery than ever before. And I link in this article to the YouTube video. That was actually the first episode of Hex Therapy Live with myself and Joe Hexotic, who is the person who really inspired me to move forward being a broadcaster in the space of cryptocurrency and mental health that we're creating here. And then like the emphasized quote here that stands out on the page says, "Time and mental health are humanity's most precious assets." HEX allows you to crawl into the fourth dimension of space-time and program your actions through monetary incentives, starting with delayed gratification. In this way, it is like the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment. As programmable money, HEX will go further, eventually allowing you to pay your future self based on more than time locking for compound interest. You will enjoy rewards for any rule you set for yourself. If it's just marshmallow money you're after, however, HEX is still designed to deliver. And it's like turning a bite into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the 1984 classic Ghostbusters. While Einstein may have said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, it's clear that the value of money multiplied by time is mind-boggling, just like the power of crypto. Einstein's era was on the heels of hard-capped monetary policy back in the quote-unquote golden era, when inventions were 0 to 1 instead of 1 to many. Is humanity on the verge of starting another similarly prosperous era due to 3G crypto? Well, we're even with the 93% dip that HEX is in right now, a year and a half later, it's still way higher than the 0.0025 cents when this article was written. So I'd say that's pretty prosperous and still has a long way to go. On to the next section here. The invention of 3G crypto. 1G crypto Bitcoin has socially enforced consensus scarcity rather than immutable scarcity. As a node operator, I chose which .exe version of Bitcoin software to run. A simple Sybil attack can remove Bitcoin's scarcity, and 2 inflation bugs have already had to be patched. To hide Bitcoin's fragile consensus, it resists any updates that would make it the programmable money the world needs. HEX fixes these issues with Bitcoin and more, reviewed elsewhere. Bitcoiners don't like to hear these facts due to their sunk costs, and in the case of influencers, due to their malicious partnerships. And what did I link to there in November of 2020? I linked to BlockFi, which we saw just blow up now, linked to Anthony Pompliano pumping BlockFi, like probably for the first time, which he went on to do many, many times. Right? I called it way ahead of time. Check the receipts. On a larger scale, 6 countries have controlled the world reserve currency in the past 6 centuries. And here I have a chart. I'm going to show this because I'm very proud of this chart I made. Even the International Monetary Fund recognized last month that the dollar is near the end of its term limit as the world reserve currency. Money is a category that is very much winner take all. There's a case for that. I may have evolved some of my thinking. A lot of this still rings true. I might now believe that there can be more than one form of money or more than one store of value, but this chart shows that about every 100 years, a different monetary regime came about, starting in about 1450, 1420, somewhere in there with Portugal. Then Spain had its turn being the world reserve currency. Then the Netherlands for 100 years, France for 100 years, Britain for 100 years, and then the United States has been going for about 100 years. And then I have 3G crypto marked off as what will be the next 100 years. Now, this is a gross simplification, but it's still useful, I think, to capture the imagination. The caption says, 3G crypto HEX imagines being the next world reserve currency, as the past 6 centuries have seen 6 different countries in control. 3G crypto, known as HEX, is not only better money than Bitcoin or paper, it will also enable a new function of money, paying yourself for habitual wellness. Now, here's where I share some of the research that shows the greatest effect size in all of psychology research is contingency management, where people are paid to control bad habits such as substance abuse. 3G crypto supports building a network of abundant mental health atop the most revolutionary money to ever exist, HEX. Mental health is crypto's long-awaited killer app. The next section is titled 3G Crypto Goes Beyond Currency. This year is the year iPhone gets 5G, aka 5th generation signal technology. The best part? 5G phones will be awesome without you even knowing exactly how 5G works. This is also the year that crypto will go beyond currency. HEX, as 3rd generation 3G crypto, is superior to both Bitcoin, which is 1G, and Ethereum, which is the second generation. HEX's first function is to monetize the time value of money and reward delaying gratification by improving bank certificates of deposit, or CDs, a $7 trillion market, larger than paper currency. Its users have already forwarded about $500 million worth of value to their future selves in the first year of the product. We know now, 2.5 to 3 years into HEX, that many more billions have been sent to our future selves. As a mental health therapist by day, I'm retired now, who is building connections with individuals in crypto who are not my clients, I mirror what other users of HEX are feeling. Healthy. How healthy? Much more than you'd expect from several thousand people who are now worth billions. Usually, earning money comes at a great cost. See, this is before I started doing all the stuff about sudden wealth syndrome, but that's like the first hint of it. You could see some of the origins of the topics that I've talked about for the past year and a half, just in this first article that was published before I started streaming. Usually, earning money comes at a great cost. However, HEX improves mental health because it monetizes delayed gratification. Its users can commit to save their economic energy for up to 15 years going forward. There is no undo button in HEX, which feels much safer than it sounds. It saves you from your own emotional self and the typical pattern of only buying high and selling low. Users of HEX can lose even their principal if they break their time lock, called stakes, but earn a greater share of compound interest the longer they stake. Staked HEX has earned up to 34% variable APY. See graph. Unlike Bitcoin, which runs on wasted energy, proof of work, or waste, HEX uses proof of stake to monetize time deposits, a several trillion-dollar fiat market ready for disruption, as negative interest rates sweep the world and the dollar is devalued. See graph again. Shout out to hexgraphs.com that we found out just today has been updated and looks really badass. Awesome. So the subtext here says graphs showing HEX stakes earned 34% variable APY, and the price of HEX increased over 150x in the past year. Used with permission from hexgraphs.com. And then in bold it says, it's simple. Dollars punish saving, HEX rewards saving. It's because of inflation. Users are unwise to go back on their savings plan until at least half of the promised time is served, if ever. HEX allows users to not only save, but to make immutable commitments to themselves. Never mind the fact that cryptos like Bitcoin have been the highest appreciating asset class in human history. At this point, having achieved a $1.5 million return on each single dollar invested a decade ago. Even more Bitcoin billionaires would have been minted in the past decade if Bitcoin incentivized time locking like in HEX. Of course, we know that a year after this article was published, in this past November of 2021, the price of Bitcoin went all the way to $69,000, which is a 6.9 million X from when it used to trade at a penny, which is almost what HEX was when I wrote this article. When combined with contingency management, 3G crypto HEX will allow mental health to go viral, making self-control and motivation easy and fun, like a game. Thus, HEX will gamify and provide the programmable money infrastructure for the digital behavioral medicine of the future. As more people catch on to the genius of 3G crypto HEX, those in the community for the past year are busy building future utilities for all people. Today, we explored the evidence of how HEX coincidentally saved one man's life by changing the game theory running through his mind and canceling his suicide plan. The HEX community stands proud of Joe's incredible story, and I link to it. Here, we discover a case in point for the larger plot twist. Crypto's noble use case is improving mental health, not just money. Then there's a section where I kind of wrote it almost like an ad for my own YouTube channel. It says Hex Therapy. Hextherapy.live airs weekly on Thursdays after The Hexologist, a nightly show starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Well, we had some time changes since then, and shout out to Hexologist for streaming for hundreds of days straight without ever taking a day off for the first several hundred days. The article says, the Hex Therapy Live community signals self-care as we discover how to program mental health into money, making both better for all. Hex Therapy tributes taking crypto beyond its current role as future money, because Hex unexpectedly gives us hope and healing today. The first episode featured the full story of a man who cancels his plan to commit suicide while finding Hex and time-locking his money for 15 years, earning him not only extraordinary compound interest, but also the peace of mind he deserves. Now, in this last section of the article, it tells the story of, again, the person who inspired me to be streaming about crypto and mental health, Joe Hexotic. This section is called Joe Pays His Future Self. As millions of Americans hunkered down at the outset of the pandemic, the Netflix blockbuster Tiger King brought a strange comfort and camaraderie. Both the show's protagonist, Joe Exotic, and ours, Joe Hexotic, suffered in similar states. Legal and relationship problems, addiction, severe depression, and worse. Yet at other times, they were charged eccentrics and empire builders. And then we have a quote from Rotten Tomatoes. A bizarre true crime story you have to see to believe. Tiger King is a messy and captivating portrait of obsession gone terribly wrong. This is the true crime of mental illness. It robs us of functioning no matter how high. In Hexotic's case, his life soars and plummets based on a highly coincidental roller coaster. At one particularly low point during the pandemic, Joe remembers his frustration with day trading in a rigged stock market. He already felt cursed. In the prior year, he suffered an overdose while driving. Joe had sustained a traumatic brain injury and spent months in confusion. After having bested death, Joe still lost the people he was living for, including his wife and 2 small children who didn't want any part of his medication-related anger outbursts. And then I have a link to the moment where Joe describes where he stands atop the MGM casino parking garage, roiled in trauma, guilt, and conflict. The urge to emergency end his life was suddenly more appealing than the complications of his fatal plan from weeks prior. And then in bold, it says Joe didn't jump. An anticlimactic scene speaks to the drudgery and isolation to which he returned to put in countless hours working on himself and building himself back up. Joe's recovery was not linear, nor was it immediate. life slowly got better. 2 days after his near jump, Joe discovered HEX and made a 15-year stake, suddenly finding hope and community to build on. Notice Joe speak with pride about his redemption sequence from rock bottom to his discovery of the richer mental health that HEX causes him and his newfound community. Joe now enjoys seeing his family again, and he rebuilds trust and they see his impressive behavior changes. He attends daily 12-step meetings and has a close relationship with his sponsor. Additionally, Joe has a growing number of others in the HEX community who have also made 15-year commits. So he need not feel so alone or disconnected like he did before he found mental health and HEX. Speaking as Joe's friend, never his therapist, his prognosis appears unusually excellent now that he is celebrating 9 months sober and 3 months in HEX. Joe learned that time and mental health are humanity's most precious assets. He admits that if the price of HEX crashes, he still has the skills and community to live his best life. Paying yourself to achieve goals and increase self-control represents a novel function of programmable money and an exotic leap forward for mental health. And then I have some further resources here at the bottom of the article. It says, please value your life. If you're suicidal, call 911 or 1-800-273-8255, which is the National Suicide Prevention Helpline. And then I also have a list of crisis lines by country. You can find all this, by the way. I have a custom domain name called 3gcrypto.com. And the 3 is a number. So 3gcrypto.com, you can find this article. Have a story to tell, you can hit me up on Twitter and Telegram. And it links to different things to explain HEX. And then this is beautiful. We have further reading from Taylor Kennedy, writing a beautiful article about another perfect example of HEX changing lives. And that was the David Feeder testimonial. And then I have some articles here about some other things that are maybe relevant. And this is not therapy, financial, or medical advice. So this article, you can see, kind of gives you a preview and shows you some of the origin stories of all the things that I've been streaming about for the past 81 weeks. This was at the very beginning of my journey. And now for an update, what's been going on since then? Well, I'm happy to report that my program to airdrop people who complete a suicide prevention plan to give away free pulse chain coins has had 12 people sign up for it. And this is something I just launched about a month and a half ago when several cryptocurrencies were crashing to zero, like Terra Luna and all these other ones now, Celsius, BlockFi, 3 Arrows Capital, right? Since writing the article, there are lots of people who have come forward and helped me promote the idea that crypto can be good for mental health. I represented at the Bitcoin conference. I stream every week consistently for all of you at home. And even Bitcoin billionaire Richard Hart has shouted me out countless times, praising the work that I'm doing because it's important to him as well. Now, what is coming in the future? Well, believe it or not, old Maddie over here, I am getting invited to speak at a longevity conference in Dublin here in September. And that's because I've done some work to raise awareness for all the fundraising that Richard Hart and the Pulse Chain Sacrifice community and everybody else has done, raising $27.5 million for longevity research. Why am I talking about this as it relates to HEX therapy? Well, I believe that if people choose to use HEX as one of the many tools that they need or that they can have to prevent suicide, that in and of itself is a form of life extension technology. And furthermore, if being in HEX and seeing how much Richard Hart causes everybody around him to win, us, in the community who are early adopters became multimillionaires, and others are time locked for many years, which is, it's no guarantee that you'll become rich, but that's what it took in Bitcoin, was being time locked to really hold on to the massive amount of gains. If following Richard caused people to donate $27.5 million to longevity research, then that's another example of how HEX causing people to be more long-term thinking is materially contributing to longevity breakthroughs. It's extending human life in primary and secondary ways. And so I'm going to speak about HEX and Pulse Chain and Richard Hart and suicide prevention and time locking, paying your future self, having a DeLorean, and the best crypto community in the world. These are the things I'm going to make sure everybody knows about when I go to the longevity conference. And so it's really exciting to me to be a part of history with you, all of the people in HEX who have staked. And, I'm turning another year old this week. That means I have some HEX stakes coming out that are, down 93% from the all-time high that I was imagining when my coins were locked. But it also means that I'm going to be rebuying my T-shares and still having such mad gains that I'm able to live off of the interest and primarily just the airdrops that have been given to the HEX community. And so, I want to say that I'm very grateful to all of you for being a part of the journey with me. I plan to continue, no expectations, but so far 81 weeks straight. And, maybe one of these weeks or years, maybe we'll all be able to celebrate the fact that we can have negative birthdays or, be able to delay gratification so much that we're actually able to decrease our biological age and or just increase our health span. That's why I love some of the other content creators here in the HEX community who talk about physical health, mental health, who help spread the awareness of HEX. HEX has been trending on Twitter for 3 days already this week. It's only Wednesday. And so it's been a long time coming, and it's really cool to me to look back to this this article I wrote in November of 2020. And so, if you would be so kind, please share this article in the description below. Share it with other people who care about mental health or who care about crypto, people who want to be financially free. I'm out here representing, putting in all my hard work just to pay it forward because I'm grateful for all the opportunity and wealth I've been able to enjoy. And so, let's all work together and get the word out. Let's see. So you can also search some of my other videos to find the resources that I have. If somebody is suicidal, I can't be your therapist, and I can't respond to you on messaging apps because I'm not allowed to practice across state lines and for various other legal and professional reasons, but I will be the person who cheers you on, who is proud of you, and the person who raises the awareness so that you can find the suicide hotline phone number, that you can find help wherever it may be. And that we can also have hope that when we work together to pay our future selves, that gives us more and more to look forward to, even when crypto has extreme volatility. Even when we're at an extreme bear market point, Hex allows you to save yourself from yourself and play the long game. The long game, it's not guaranteed to pay you more USD, but it does guarantee that if you stake longer than average, you won't be diluted in Hex terms. It's an improvement. That's something. So let's see. With that being said, I think tonight's episode, it's not going to go for a full 2 hours because I won't be able to interact with the chat. But just remember, I'm thinking of all of you and wishing you the best. I'm looking forward to many more weeks of Hex therapy and the ups and downs that come with it. So let me see. With that being said, I've got a really idea of what outro to play. Oh, where'd my banner go? There we go. I want to play the cameo that I made for Joe Hexotic. But I don't see it here, so I will have to show you where to find it and then play it that way. So if we go to hexcontract.com, that's my YouTube playlist. I have different cameos. And then here we go. Share screen with sound. Actually, let me double check and make sure this isn't going to give me a copyright strike. I don't want this video to get taken down. So I feel like it's been a good one so far. Let me see. Yes, this should be all good. Awesome.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol Baskin from Big Cat Rescue. Joe Hexo, I am told that you are such a cool cat. Oh my gosh. Yes, Maddie tells me that you are just the BFF and that you are celebrating 1 year of sobriety. Congratulations. I know how hard that is.
This was at the first
gosh,
Hex conference.
Do I know how hard that is? I was a drunk up until 1979. And that's when I got pregnant and decided I was not going to do that to my baby. And so I have been abstaining since 1979. It's more you crave the idea of being catatonic. Yeah, that was fun. But you don't need it now because I understand that your YouTube show is about struggle and recovery and helping others to improve, and that you are involved in the crypto community. And the crypto community has got to be doing really amazing right now. The only part of the crypto community that I ever got involved in was crypto kitties. I thought that was so fun. I love those crypto kitties. Oh, just love them. But, I could be a little addictive, I think. And I never did purchase the first one. I almost did. I tried lining up all of the ether and everything you got to do and decided that was too much hassle.
Richard laughed his ass off at this part.
My PIN numbers for all of that stuff. And so never did actually buy a crypto kitty. Probably should have. I don't know how that fits into all of the crypto stuff that's going on right now, but it looks like people who have invested in crypto, really made some smart ideas or investments in that. I wish that I had. But it sounds like you are investing in yourself and in others by helping everyone improve their mental health through experience and strength and hope. All of those are great things. You are just the cat's meow. Oh, absolutely. I hope 2021 is your most tigerific year ever. Stay cool, cats. Mwah.
And there's a link to the 10-minute episode of Joe Hexotic, his Genesis story. Awesome. What a good episode. 40 minutes in. So with that being said, everybody, hit the like and subscribe button if you made it this far. And if you enjoyed the content, share it out with people, comment if you're watching on the replay. And let's see, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.